to, of course, where the coffin is expected to come out and inside the hearse. Spamandla?
Unfortunately, we are now, Mtwana has been called home, and we are here to collect his remains, and we are absolutely devastated. Our hearts are broken, but we are determined to give him a befitting send-off, and that is why we are here.
I'm sure after this it will hit hard on you. You haven't had time to grieve and to mourn. After this, it will be devastating when it hits you, when you attend your NEC meetings without him for a very first time.
But not only that, he was a father in every way. So in not ever, I'm never going to be able to speak to him on the telephone again. I will never be able to ask him for advice again. Yes, so it's of course a sad, sad moment.
Lizelle, thank you very much for time. We'll have to leave it there for now. I will ask my colleague just to get in for now and show you the visuals. Uxolo kancane wena wenkosi, besicela ungena kancane nje. Besicela ungena, siyaxolisa wena wesizwe. If you can just get in a little bit, these are the visuals is happening. Kancane nje wena wenkosi, siyacela. Wena wenkosi siyacela, wena usilo sicela ungena kancane, siyaxolisa. Basically amabutho waiting here to welcome the remains of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. They are singing a song. Listen to the natural song. This is a song that is being sung when there is mourning, when there's been a death in the nation. This is a song that gets sung. Listen to it.
Song and those sounds, of course, by Amabutho Spamandla Koke, a solemn song, as you've just mentioned, when there is a death in the Zulu nation. But you can see that convoy of cars that, of course, is welcoming the mortal remains, coming to collect them, actually, to receive them. And that is quite a significant moment, you can understand and imagine, for the family, for some of those who have served alongside Mangosuthu Buthelezi. We've heard even from Lizen Merve telling my colleague Spamandla Koke that Mangosuthu Buthelezi was like a father. You know, those who've worked around him, those who've been in the IFP political party working alongside him, those who've worked with him as, the Prime Minister of the AmaZulu nation, know that he was more of a father figure and oftentimes giving counsel where needed. Naren Singh as well, the current Treasurer General of the IFP, elaborating on the very exact same point, saying that, for all the years that he's worked with Mangosuthu Buthelezi, he will be remembered for his father figure, for his father role. And those are the visuals of some of the IFP members clanned by, the political party regalia, coming to pay their last respects as they welcome the remains of Mangosuthu Buthelezi. But of course, Pamandla, let me take you back once again, because it's easy for me to talk about Mangosuthu Buthelezi and what the mourners are singing from studio here in Johannesburg. But do you feel, you experience the emotions on the ground? All right, still trying to establish Mangosuthu Buthelezi at this point, and we'll try and establish him. As soon as we do, though, we'll take you back to Spamandla. But these are the visuals that you're still looking at, where the funeral parlor, the funeral home is, where the mortal remains of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi are at. And at this point, his son, Prince Zuzifa, of course, Buthelezi, there to receive his father. And you can see there Princess and of course, alongside her husband, King Zwelithini's daughter as well in attendance. And as Pamandla, a closer look now at what's happening right there at the parlor where the mortal remains, of course, of Mangosuthu had lied. Pamandla?
It was expected that it was going to be too many people. There is no way you can control what happens when a person Mangosuthu departs. There are those well-wishers who would like to come and worked a very long time with the late AmaZulu king, Goodwill Zwelithini, Kabheka Zulu, as well as Kinobo of Ekazini. They are controlling the crowds that are here. They are controlling Amabutho. What you see here are just Amabutho alone. And you will see members of eNCA Freedom Party. You will see the people of
All right, so those shaky visuals there, understandably, because of how congested it is there, but also apologies for that, as our team is trying its level best to give you those visuals at the home stage. Let's perhaps go back to the home of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Earlier on, Bradan and JJ Tabane had been there giving us live visuals. This as when the family was still at the time preparing to go to the funeral home where Mangosuthu Buthelezi is. Quite a hive of activity still, we understand and see at the home of Mangosuthu Buthelezi. We know that his remains expected to come back home, but also expecting for NAT joints, members of the SAPS and law enforcement to try and man the amount of mourners that have come to pay their last respects here at the build-up to the burial and funeral of Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Earlier on, the Deputy Police Commissioner had mentioned to my colleague Bradan Moyane, saying that their presence there is not necessarily one of trying to receive a criminal threat of some sort. No, it's just when it comes to manning up those numbers, assisting the family in trying to, of course, be more organized and ensure there are no stampedes, ensuring that there's absolutely safety and security prioritized, because you can imagine for a man of this stature, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, being buried tomorrow, being offered that and given that, official state 1 category, that is, one of the highest orders in terms of what President Cyril Ramaphosa bestows on a fallen leader. Many people would want to come from all corners of South Africa, of the continent, perhaps even from around the world, to pay their last respects. And that could speak to the numbers that the family may not have even prepared for, but understanding that this was a man who served the people, and therefore those who have been informed, who are aware of his passing, wanting to come and pay their last respects. So that speaks to the number, even the same number that the Ulundi Stadium can actually accommodate. We understand standing at 15,000, but surely you can see with some of the numbers that have been alleged to be reported that that number could rise well above 15,000. But NAT joints say they are well prepared for the number of mourners coming to, of course, bid farewell to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, saying that they've also organized some marquees, they've organized some seating arrangements beyond what the stadium can actually accommodate, this to assure safety and security during his funeral service. But we're still looking at those visuals live from the funeral home where Prince Mangosuthu, of course, had been laying for quite some time before the family came to prepare his body, to speak to him, to, of course, receive him and also render an expected prayer service inside that funeral home. We've also seen a bit earlier on IFP leader Velenkosini Hlabisa making his way inside, clanged around by some of his security detail, but also we've seen the likes of, Liesel van der Merwe, who spoke to my colleagues Pamantla Koke, and Naren Singh, the current Treasurer General of the eNCA Freedom Party. We've also seen, one of the children of the late King Zwelithini, Kabeguzulu, also coming in attendance. Amabutho, as you can see there, they are there to ensure that they play their key part and role in paying their last respects to the Amazulu Prime Minister, the fallen Prime Minister of the Amazulu nation. That is, of course, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Quite shaky visuals. You can understand that quite a congested, community and just a platform where we are right now. But our team doing the best that they can to give you these visuals live. And as a matter of fact, let me cross back to Pamandla Koke, who has been there, speaking to various voices as they paid their last respects. Pamandla, at this moment, what are we seeing, colleagues, right in front of our screens?
Well, the coffin of carrying the remains of the late Amazulu traditional Prime Minister is being put inside a hearse now. Amabutho are forming a guard of honor, 2 lines that they are forming here. After this, we will be leaving and departing to Wapindangene. The Prince of Wapindangene will be making his final journey to Wapindangene. This is the route that ordinarily he would have traveled for many years. Remember, he has lived and worked here in Ulundi for a very long time, and now with him making his final journey across the streets of a small town of Ulundi that he has always been saying, Ulundi lwakhiwa yimi, ngalwakha ngalithuthukisa, ngalidivisa developer. He will be going through the streets of Ulundi. Many people will be forming a guard of honor, honoring and respecting the late traditional prime minister to the Zulu king and monarch. And there will be thousands of others who will be, lining the streets to ensure that they pay their respects to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, as well as IFP members who've come here to pay their last respects to the departed founder of eNCA Freedom Party. So it's going to be a somber mode, but Amabutho will try and display a spirit of, togetherness, a spirit of being too strong for this moment, as the family will be living. So we will be taking we will be making our way here as we Amabutho are now ready for the hearse to leave. The convoy is making its way. The convoy is making its way, and bear with us. It's going to. There are too many cars here. There are too many people here. There are other people who are in front. There are other people who are jamming the convoy. So that's what you will be getting from time and time again, whereby there is some sort of chaos. But it's Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi who's being laid to rest. His remains are being fetched from the mortuary, and therefore there will be some of the things that will appear a bit disorganized, but they are not disorganized at all, because the magnitude of this will ensure that basically too many people are here. We will be far away from the convoy now and again, but we'll also try and catch up with the convoy, because security is trying to direct everything and everyone. So don't be surprised if you see us driving far ahead from the convoy. They will catch up with us. We will wait for them, but we're trying to open up space and make way for the convoy that is escorting Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi's family with a hearse that is carrying his remains. Members of eNCA Freedom Party wouldn't have wanted this day to come, because this will be tough. After Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi has been laid to rest, it will be tough for the family, it will be tough for the IFP, an organization that he founded many years ago, an organization that is facing some political troubles that he has openly spoken about in the past, saying factions and divisions within the IFP worried him for a very long time, and he pleaded with members of eNCA Freedom Party to ensure that they close ranks, they respect each other, they are united, as we see the hearse moving, slowly making its way out of Eboletu funeral parlor. It will be a long way to Wapindangene. Ordinarily, it should take about 30 minutes to drive from where we are to Wapindangene, but currently, with this traffic and this long motorcade, it will take probably 45 minutes to an hour, but all of that will be determined by what is happening on the small streets of Ulundi town, which is a very small town, which is a very populated and overpopulated town currently as we speak, because many people are out in numbers to ensure that they are here to pay their respects to the departed traditional prime minister to the Zulu nation. Sekaraba Mafugwane must just take his position now as we are about to move and join the motorcade that is moving. Perhaps let's allow one of the traffic officers' cars to pass, and once that car has passed, then we will be able to get into the convoy. This is the convoy that we are showing you currently. These are members of the Presidential Protection Unit directing this traffic and this convoy, and these are the members of the Buthelezi family that are being escorted by the SAPS team, because Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi will be accorded special official funeral category number 1, and it is not surprising that police are out in their numbers trying to ensure that they are here to control the situation and to control everyone and to basically ensure that they are here to ensure that there is law and order, there is stability here as well. So what will be happening is that there will be a lot of stops and go, whereby people will be cleared off the roads as the police are trying to ensure that there is smooth movement for the family. Perhaps when we join the bigger road up, on top, it will be much more easier. But for now, it's relatively congested because there are Amabuto that are here and there are other people that have come out in their numbers to pay their last respects. They are here to honor Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. So my colleague Sekaraba Mafugwana will just park by the roadside for now to allow for this movement to take place, and then we will just allow other cars to pass while we wait for the motorcade to make its way all the way up. It's going to be a very long and difficult drive for members of the police as well as Amabuto, who are driving or who are walking very slow next to the motorcade and next to the hearse that is carrying the remains of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, umntwana wakaphinda ngene. And what will be happening is that from here we will join King Dinuzulu, and when we join King Dinuzulu Road, that's where we expect that at least there will be some free movement in terms of the convoy and the motorcade that is making its way to Wapindangene.
Just park here. Sure.
Well, of course, we can definitely see that motorcade making its way as Pamantla Koga. And I think it's quite befitting to also remind that, besides the fact that it is a Category 1 official state funeral as bestowed by President Cyril Ramaphosa, we also seen that the members of the SAPS's presence today, their sole responsibility, engaging with the family, engaging with those who have the responsibility of working with them to ensure that all the mourners, Pamantla, all the mourners that have come to Ulundi to pay their last respects, of course, their safety and well-being can be assured. I mean, you can imagine, colleague, for someone whose stature, similar to that of Mangosuthu Buthelezi, we've heard before that even former statesmen, the likes of, Thabo Mbeki, former President Thabo Mbeki, former President of Nigeria, the former President Kgalema Motlanthe, amongst others, have also been expected to come here. That just shows you the lengths and breadths of the people that have worked alongside Mangosuthu Buthelezi, that have shared respect for him and would want to come to bid him farewell. So the numbers are expected to actually increase, even though the stadium, the Buthelezi Ulundi Stadium, is expected to only accommodate 15,000. It's the role, right, of the members of the SAPS to actually expect more, even though they can't necessarily articulate how many boots on the ground they have dispatched, but they say that they have enough men on the ground, boots on the ground, to ensure that they, of course, assure the safety and well-being of all the mourners coming into attendance, saying that if intelligence reports inform them to increase that number, that's exactly what they're prepared to do, and that's exactly what they will do from today and tomorrow as well, leading up to the funeral service. But understandably, I think even for us as well, as part of the media, the reason we found ourselves, in situations where it was a bit congested, a little bit chaotic because of the stature that Mangosuthu Buthelezi has, that's why that number of people, even at the funeral home, was so much in terms of, the number of people there trying to maneuver our way just to account for the different voices that are present, but also visually giving our viewers the visuals to also see and witness this day in history where the remains of Mangosuthu Buthelezi of course, was rather received from the funeral parlor. And we saw that, of course, the convoy is still ongoing, I suppose. You did mention, colleague, that it will be quite, a long road, not only for the convoy, for the protection services, the law enforcement, but also the Amabuto, as you can see them standing by. They will be walking. They have been practicing choreographing this moment for many a days, of course, leading up to today, because this is their way, this is their sign of showing respect to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. But once again, Spamandla, I mean, the question again around the number of mourners expected in Ulundi, not only today, but tomorrow as well. I'm sure it's at this point too many to account for. All right, Pamandla Koga still trying to establish his, connection to us at this point. You can understand, even with the shaky visuals that we're seeing right now, it's just a lot happening right now on the scene, and we'll be sure to try and give you those clear visuals as soon as we can, because we do have our teams not only dispatched from where the funeral home is, but also the homestead of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. That's where my colleagues, Bradan Moyane as well as JJ Tabane, had been, of course, for the good part of today, giving you live and direct visuals from the home, as we've seen with Prince Zuzifa Buthelezi, the son of Mangosuthu Buthelezi, saying that it's quite a difficult time to say goodbye to your father, no matter what age, no matter what time of his life that is. It's just difficult for a family to say goodbye to a patriarch who has been, the center, the anchor of the family, especially since, Prince Zuzifa's mother, Princess Irene, had passed away. And obviously, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, being a father, having to now play both roles, even within the family dynamics. Now, to say goodbye to him, you can imagine how difficult that is for the family. However, it has to be done. The work still needs to continue. I remember even him earlier on saying to my colleague Brian that there can never be perfect planning in situations like this, because again, you can understand that for a man of the stature, there are different sides of him that have to be acknowledged, that have to be respected, that have to be accounted for. If we're talking here of a political leader, we're talking of a traditional prime minister of the AmaZulu nation, we're talking here of a community build in a sense of a man that has contributed to the Mangosuthu University of Technology, a man that has contributed to many facets of communities in KwaZulu-Natal and around the country. All those different facets and, parts of his lives, all the people that work in those different, facets would want to come through and play a significant role in acknowledging him, in paying their last respects. And that's why the family said it's been quite a difficult time, not only mourning, but also planning this, procession, this service, because they have to account to the different roles that he played in society. One role, though, that different voices continue to elaborate on is one of a father figure saying that Mangosuthu Buthelezi was like a father. I mean, he was like a counselor. He was, a man who was not just a stern leader. Yes, strict. We've also heard from Narendra Singh saying that in Parliament, he's one that would, try and keep order. We've also witnessed it, I'm sure, as South Africans, when there are disputes in Parliament, he would be the one to raise a point of order to say, let there be order, let there be respect, Honourable Speaker, so that we can get on to the order of the day. But besides that strictness, that disciplinarian side of him that was shared countless times, also, once again, we know that he is a man that had, a fatherly role that he played to those he engaged with, be it in members of the IFP, some within the Youth Brigade, the opposition party leaders. Different voices have said this over and over again. Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi playing that role. But earlier on, I remember as well, Pamandla Koga, I think throughout, these different days and last couple of days leading up to today, where we are seeing his mortal remains now going to his home. I think it was Prince Zuzifa, and I stand to be corrected, who said to my colleagues, Pamandla Koga, that Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi was, he had a weakness, and that weakness was that he was a very weak judge of character. He always believed in giving people a second chance, time and time again, until then, one would give him a reason not to. And sometimes, he would be backstabbed, he would be betrayed, and that would, of course, inform that he was, a figure that believed in just believing in the best interests of others at times. But we also have seen another role of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, and I suppose that's why the likes of King Zwelithini, his daughter, Princess Ntando, and her husband, Moses Dembe, we've seen their faces even in attendance today at the funeral home, is that he's played quite a crucial role in the placing of King Misuzulu on the throne. But ladies and gentlemen, what you're seeing right now, viewers, are just the live visuals of Amabuto, of course, accompanying the immortal remains of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. We've heard time and time again from, the leaders, the traditional leaders, saying this aspect is not to be taken lightly, because this is how they pay their last respects. This is how they mourn, their leader. This is how they, of course, march on and walk withstanding. It doesn't matter how long the distance, they will walk him from where he was, of course, his remains were, to where the homestead is. They will continue to sing praises. You can hear, I'm sure, from your TV screens, mourning songs, just, of course, in remembrance of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. But those are live visuals that you're seeing right now coming from Ulundi in KwaZulu-Natal. This is where, of course, my colleagues Pamantla Koke and our cameraman Bongam Kiza are giving us these live visuals right now as it stands. We know that family members are there in attendance, particularly the patriarchs of the families, the male figures of the Buthelezi family, making sure that they also lead this charge, making sure that they continue to pay their last respects to also their fallen leader, Mangosuthu Buthelezi. But also understanding that this is a Category 1 official, state official funeral. The presidential procession, the presidential, cars and motorcades also expected to be seen not just today, but tomorrow as well. Because this is a man that has been bestowed a Category 1 funeral by President Cyril Ramaphosa. So we're definitely hearing the singing from the Amabuto, making sure that they stick to the strict rules at this point, making sure that their guard of honor is quite disciplined. They follow through in terms of walking and chanting, and you could see their leader in front leading them to where exactly they're supposed to walk to. Quite a strict leader, I have to say, who wants order from the Amabuto at this point as they continue to accompany the mortal remains of Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Spamandla Koke, from where you stand right now, I mean, quite a journey that is to be made at this point, I can understand, but I've just been saying earlier on that it's a journey that the Amabuto are willing to walk, this for Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, leading him to his home.
There's no way they wouldn't have worked for him. He is one of their own. He was the bridge and the gap between them as well as the king of AmaZulu nation. He was their traditional prime minister, so therefore they will sacrifice and work for him. There's no way they wouldn't work for him. And what you see here is just a fraction of Amabuto. Many of them will be en route to KwaPhindangene. They will be along the route, along the way to KwaPhindangene. So you'll see those that were just picked to come and welcome the Prince of KwaPhindangene, but the rest are waiting near KwaPhindangene homestead. That's where they will welcome him and pay their respects. But for now, it's just a small group of Amabuto that is accompanying this motorcade from the mortuary. In front, we see the president of eNCA Freedom Party, Velenkosini Hlabisa, who was nominated and supported by Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi to take over from him as the president of eNCA Freedom Party. A gentleman who's singing there, leading Amabuto currently in song, is Prince Thokozani Kinopho Zulu, not the famous Prince Thokozani who was asked by Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi to sit down at Gwakangela Mankongane Royal Palace, that famous moment whereby it was said that Hlalapansi Thokozani. This is not that Thokozani, it's the other Thokozani of Ekazini. He is the one who's leading in song and dance. He was leading a song, or rather in song, he was leading a song along the lines, Umdlokombana Akaseko, the king is no more, Undunankulu Akaseko Shile, the traditional prime minister, has also left us. So therefore, please, AmaZulu King Misuzulu Kazwelithini, intervene and allow us and lead us as your people, as the Zulu nation. The car that is making a U-turn, this white Toyota Fortuner that is making a U-turn, I know for a fact that it belongs to Princess Phumzile, the eldest daughter of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Princess Phumzile is the daughter of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. She is in one of the vehicles that are behind the hearse, but her support staff is here to pick up some other members of the royal family. This car came to pick up some members of the royal family, female members of the royal family, elderly women who are unable to walk for a very long time with Amabutho. As you can see, that they are emotional, they are crying, they are very, very emotional and crying. Members of the Buthelezi family who had come here to accompany Princess Phumzile Buthelezi, who is the daughter of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. So this car had to wait for Amabutho to make their way here. So this car is being allowed to pass, and now that he has passed, she has passed, then the convoy will continue here. The car that is in front leading, there is Inyosi Buzecheni Mdletshe. Buzecheni Mdletshe is King Zwelithini and King Misuzulu's praise singer. He is the royal praise singer. Behind this black car that you see, there is a hearse that is carrying the remains of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, and seated on the passenger seat on that second hearse is Prince Zuzifa Ntuthuko Yesizwe Buthelezi, who is the son of the departed Inkosi yakwa Buthelezi, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. They are singing a song now. Wawuyaphi ungaphethe isibhamu, wawuyaphi ungaphethe uzosala phansi. Emgungundlovu abashongo njalo. Aniphakamiseni imkhonto niyithathe niyibambe niyiphakamisele phezulu mangenjalo njalo. Indunu Sipho Mhlongo here is directing everyone and everything to ensure that there is order, there is at least smooth movement of this motorcade, even though it will not be a smooth movement because there are too many people that are here. It will therefore not be about a smooth movement, and it will take quite a bit of time for this motorcade and this convoy to make its way all the way to Wapindangene. It is going to be a very long drive. It's frustrating for Amabutho here because there are too many cars that are here, and those cars at times they move very slow. Let me give you natural sound. Nimkhonto niyibambe niyiphakamisele phezulu mangenjalo zosala phansi. That's the song that is being sung here by Amabutho. They are paying tribute to their fallen traditional prime minister. Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi used to lead Amabutho in song and dance. Even in advanced age, he would be there singing and dancing with Amabutho. It's not surprising that the pictures that Bonga Mkhize is showing you, they are twofold. In front of the motorcade and the mortuary van or hearse, you see Amabutho. And when you look further up behind the hearse is another life of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi in a form of members of the IFP. He had played leading roles in the traditional and cultural life of AmaZulu as a nation, but also he was a politician. He is the founder of eNCA Freedom Party, a party that he led for many decades, a party that got to define him as a politician political leader, a party that at some point governed the province of KwaZulu-Natal from 1994 to 2004 up until they lost political power. So therefore, it's not surprising that you will see thousands of IFP members coming out in their numbers to pay their respect and paying homage to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. And it's not surprising that you will see Amabutho in their numbers paying homage and respect to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, because for years as the traditional prime minister to the Zulu monarchs, not by the way the current king, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, if my memory serves me well, I'm subject to correction, he has served 3 AmaZulu kings, from King Zwelithini's father, King Bhekuzulu, to King Zwelithini himself and King Misuzulu kaZwelithini. That's why in his praise singing you will hear something along the lines, unesibindi mntaka Buthelezi ngokukhuthazela okandaba uZwelithini bemthuka bemcokofula bethi kayekubusa kayebankosi. Basically, you were brave, Buthelezi, for fighting for King Zwelithini when many people were disowning him, undermining him, saying he will not rule, he will not become king. So therefore, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi played a very leading role. Please, that he played a leading role in ensuring the ascension of King Zwelithini as the Zulu king. Remember, King Zwelithini had to go to hiding when he was the prince. Of course, at the time he was destined to take over the throne, there were squabbles and tensions, divisions within AmaZulu royal family. What you see currently happening is not something new. It has happened in the past, whereby at the time Prince Zwelithini had to take over the throne. Some within the Zulu royal family did not approve of him taking over the throne. Even when he was on the throne for almost 50 years, there were some who were questioning his legitimacy. There were some who never supported him. It was Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi who went to the Zulu royal family with other senior royals and said, give the prince his rightful place, give him his throne. That's why Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi was central and instrumental in King Zwelithini's ascension as the king of the Zulu nation. So, and moving to the current succession that recently took place within the Zulu royal family and the nation, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi at the center of history, again rooting and advocating for Prince Misuzulu at the time to become the king of AmaZulu, as you know, the king of AmaZulu nation. So therefore, it's not surprising that Amabutho will be out in their numbers to pay their respects. That we see Prince Phumzile here. Of the late departed AmaZulu traditional prime minister Shenk Nxese Mntwana. Princess Phumzile here, very emotional as she came to fetch the remains of her departed father. I spoke to her yesterday. She said it's really tough. She has been working with her departed father for a very long time. She worked with her departed father for a very long time, as she is a politician in her own right. She was being groomed and that we give you these live visuals. We will try and pan. We want to show you what is happening in front. Bonga will do a 360 degrees. Bear with us. It will be shaky. This is live television. Members of eNCA Freedom Party coming from the other side to basically pay their respects and to welcome the remains of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Ulundi is on standstill. A town that Prince Mangosuthu helped build and helped develop is on standstill. It's paying its last respects to the departed leader of the IFP. Family members are distraught. Family members are emotional. Family members are hurt by the passing of their father. Members of the IFP have lost a leader and founder of their political home. AmaZulu have lost a traditional prime minister, a man who served the Zulu nation with loyalty and distinction, but a man whose political legacy will remain a subject of intense scrutiny, debate and history, a political legacy divided. In the pre-1994 dispensation, a man labeled as a traitor, a man labeled as an apartheid collaborator, a man said to have been at the center of political violence, a man who is hated by many, loved by many, respected by some. Listen to the natural sound of Mangosuthu Buthelezi here, as we will ask our colleagues Sekaraba to hold it for now, to wait for Amabutho. We don't want to leave too much gap between us and Amabutho, but Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi's legacy will remain for the history books. When I interviewed him, I asked him, how would you like to be remembered when you are no more? He said to me, Mr. Koke, very simple. I want my tombstone to be written, here lies the man who made his contribution for his people. As for what others say about me, history will be the judge. And of course, history has got no blank pages. Whatever happened in the past will be debated by the current and future generations. They will make up their own minds about Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi's highly contested and controversial legacy. But for now, I guess what will sanitize him is the issue of his contribution to AmaZulu as a nation, his contribution to the Zulu nation, and his role as the traditional prime minister of AmaZulu as a nation. That's the song that is being sung, and that's the chanting that is being done by Amabutho. Sometimes it will be difficult for us to give you natural sound. Members of the Presidential Protection Services, members of the SAPS are hard at work controlling the crowd. They will be ululating here. Listen to this. On standstill, Ulundi is honoring its son, who was just a young prince of Wapindangene, went on to become one of the leaders that were respected not only in South Africa but globally, but once again whose legacy and contribution will forever be a subject of intense history, debate, scrutiny and criticism. Some call him an apartheid puppet, apartheid collaborator, a sellout, a traitor. To some, he was a liberator, he was a hero, he was a person who made sure that those who believe in their culture embrace their culture, embrace their tradition, embrace their traditional practices. And it's not surprising that Amabutho are here to pay homage to Umntwana wakaPhindangene, uShenge, uSokalisa, okaMathole.
We're definitely seeing the visuals still coming to you live this afternoon as the Amabutho trying to, instill law and order, as you can see there, not playing games when it comes to discipline and allowing space for the Amabutho, of course, to conduct their work. A very well-planned, choreographed, march right now accompanying the remains of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, and I suppose being very strict because they want space. They want, some space to be given to Amabutho, as well as the leader of the IFP, that's Velunkosini Tlhabisa, was right in front, leading on with that walk, that journey to the home of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Behind them is the hearse that is carrying the coffin and the remains of Mangosuthu Buthelezi, as well as the family of the Buthelezi clan, and some that have been accompanying the remains. You can see they are, of course, walking past the streets of Ulundi to much of the cheering of community members, women ululating on the side, some being, ordinary community members coming to witness this day because perhaps they could not make it to either the burial, the funeral, some of the services that had been planned. This is their moment to bid farewell to the former traditional Prime Minister of the AmaZulu nation, who's now the late leader of the eNCA Freedom Party, but also one man deemed to be a community leader, community member who's put the interests of those he serves before him. Some have described him as a father figure, those who've interacted with him saying that he's played that role quite diligently, of course, all in the interests of believing that the best for the community needs to be prioritized when it comes to either service delivery, whether it's in education, whether it's in healthcare. We've heard from the Deputy Minister of Health, Dr. Sibongiseni Dlomo, also just briefly narrating his times with the late Mangosuthu Buthelezi, not only as the Deputy Minister of the country in his capacity as DM, but also when he was the NEC of Health in KwaZulu-Natal, saying that he'd had extensive engagements with Mangosuthu Buthelezi, not just with him alone, but also with himself alongside the now late King Zwelithini Buthelezi, because Zwelithini Bhekuzulu, because it was important, according to DM, who said that it was important to observe culture and tradition and the traditional customs that also were important to observe, according to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. So that her still, of course, making his way to the home. You could see community members lined up on the side, some in sorrow, some just really taking out their phones to witness what is happening, some just showing their support to the family, and also singing and emulating at this point, while the Amabutho, of course, continue to lead that procession to the homestead. The homestead itself, still much of hive activity as we've seen before, but this is why it's important for law enforcement to also ensure that the safety and well-being of everyone at this time, because there are many mourners, as you can see, those who will be in attendance expected tomorrow, those on the sides of the streets to see and witness Buthelezi's coffin making its way home. But Spamandla Goga, we come to you once again, colleague, and I think it's important to also recognize and acknowledge, as you did before, the presence of community members. These are the people that lived amongst Buthelezi and that he lived amongst as well. These are the people that have seen some of the efforts that different voices have narrated, that he wanted to see service delivery for the people. He wanted to see, the people receiving quality education, and that's how he founded the Mangosuthu University of Technology, amongst other things. So I suppose some of the community members that have, come out to bid farewell, perhaps they won't be in attendance tomorrow at the funeral, but this is their way of bidding Mangosuthu Buthelezi goodbye.
Indeed, this is the only time they will get to pay their respects and their contribution to the fallen leader who lived, worked, and basically enjoyed life among them. And they will be having this opportunity to pay their last respects, because there is no other way and no other time whereby they will be able to do that. Bongamkize will once again do a 360 degrees to show you the chaos that is in Ulundi. It's a chaos that has got to do with paying respect to the departed traditional prime minister, to the Zulu monarch and the Zulu nation. Umntwana wakaphinda ngene inkosi yesizwe sakaButhelezi okaMathole usokalisa imbabazane mahaqo. Those are some of his clan names. Those are some of his praise singings. And he lived amongst these people that are lining the streets here. Bongamkize showing you those visuals of, I would say thousands of people who are gathered across Ulundi, the small town in northern KwaZulu-Natal, which used to be the capital of the KwaZulu government, which used to be the capital of the KwaZulu-Natal province after 1994, when eNCA Freedom Party was governing the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi is accredited with building and developing Ulundi. Small as it is, underdeveloped as it is, when we make our turn, we will make a right turn, and just after that robot, we will make a right turn, and you will see. Let me give you this. When we make a right turn, you will see the old legislature building. That is the building that Umntwana uMangosuthu Buthelezi operated on. That is the building that was the administration building or administrative building of the KwaZulu government, and also the provincial legislature building when the IFP was governing. Let me shut up and give it to the people. It's now time to move. Amabutho are moving. They are in high spirits. It's supposed to be a somber mood, but it was not going to be a somber mood with Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. He was not of that life, sensitive as he was, but at the same time, he was a very strong, fearless leader who earned many enemies and many admirers. So therefore, you seeing this motorcade making its way with Amabutho on foot, leading this motorcade and this convoy. It's going to be a very long journey. Ordinarily by now we should have arrived at Wapindangene, but it's not going to be an easy and short journey. You are escorting the remains of the man who's got a record of 70 years of public service. Very controversial, very shrewd, very divisive politician, admired by some for his role as the traditional prime minister to the Zulu nation and to the Zulu monarch. Ulundi is on standstill. Ulundi is on standstill as Amabutho and members of the IFP take Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi to Wapindangene on his final journey. A journey that many knew will come, a journey that others didn't want to come. As you see on the other side, on the left, statues of kings that have not been unveiled in Ulundi. There are statues of kings that Bonga will not be able to show you as Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi is making his way. Leading Amabutho, abantwana basendlunkulu, I see there is a Prince uNkosinathi of Emateni, there is a Prince Usibuko of also Kwanobamba. Listen to the natural sound. Sathwala kanzima. Sathwala kanzima, that's the name of the song that is being sung here as I see Prince Zuzifa Ntuthuko Yesizwe Buthelezi behind the black BMW, seated in front, on the front seat of that hearse there that is carrying the remains of his departed father, the remains of Inkosi Yesizwe Saka Buthelezi, umntwana wakaPhindangene, imbabazane Mahaqa. Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi will be laid to rest tomorrow. He has been granted an accorded official special funeral category 1 by President Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa, who is expected to deliver the eulogy in honor of the departed founder of eNCA Freedom Party, a man who passed on having been troubled and hurt by two outstanding issues that remain unresolved. Slow pace of reconciliation between eNCA Freedom Party and the African National Congress, two political parties that were at loggerheads for a very long time, resulting in the deaths of many people. There has been a blame game, another one blaming another one, a lot of finger pointing, but Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi saying there needs to be unity and reconciliation between the IFP and the ANC, advocating for both parties to come together at some point, even saying in isiZulu, sizingane zandawonye Mr. Goge, meaning we are one family, we must come together. He felt betrayed at some point, saying the ANC leadership, particularly Oliver Reginald Tambo, sold him out, saying he gave him blessings and mandates, but he denied him he basically disowned him. And he was not happy with some of the leaders of the ANC, saying that it was time to go and address some of the rallies together with the late Nelson Mandela. Some of the leaders prevented him from doing that, and therefore he felt that they were deliberately slow in their efforts to reconcile the ANC and the IFP. He was also troubled by the ongoing squabbles in the royal family. He was hurt by how he departed without resolving divisions and conflicts with Amazulu King Misuzu Lukazolithini. And the center of the disagreements was the issue of Ingonyama Trust, with King Misuzu preferring another chairperson to lead Ingonyama Trust, whereas Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi was of the view that the Ingonyama Trust should be led by former Judge Jerome Ngwenya, who is the former Judge Jerome Ngwenya. Okay. The hearse is on the right-hand side here. We have been overtaken by Amabuto here. Amabuto have overtaken us, and therefore we will try. Bongamkize is showing you visuals of Prince Zuzifa Buthelezi here, leading his father's remains here in Kosi Yagwa Buthelezi. Prince Zuzifa Ntuthuko Yesizwe Buthelezi sitting on the passenger seat there, basically as the son of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. He has to talk to his father, tell his father that we are going home, tell his father that we are doing all we could to ensure that we are taking you home now as in OCS's Buthelezi. So therefore, this is not surprising that you see Prince Zuzifa Buthelezi basically leading this motorcade here. As we see here also, Ibamba Bukhosi offices were Buthelezi, Ibamba Bukhosi offices were Buthelezi, Mpegayise Buthelezi, Ibamba Bukhosi lesizwe Buthelezi, Mpegayise Buthelezi there, basically also supporting family members. There is also Inyosubuze Cheni Mdletshe, who is the king's praise singer, as he is one of the eldest members of I wouldn't say the family, but very close contacts and relations with the family of Buthelezi, as well as Amazulu royal family. Let me just give you members of the IFP singing here together with members of Amabu. They are sitting down or they are kneeling down, paying their respects and homage to the departed founder of their political party, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. These are the scenes here in Ulun. That's the song that they are singing, while others are singing a popular song in the Zulu nation, where they sing the land is ours, why there is tension and fighting over the land. Well, there's been a quick change and dramatic turn of events here. As you see, members of the IFP Amabutho, as well as just members of the Zulu royal family that have taken over this. This is a very icala lisemajajini lethizwe owanombango. That's what is being sung here. Icala lisemajajini olethizwe owanombango, elethizwe owanombango, elethizwe owanombango. That's the song that is being sung and chanted here. That's the song that Amabutho are singing here as we make our way to Kwapindangene, as we make our way to the home of the departed Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi Amabutho, as well as members of the IFP, as we pass the old legislature building here. Izindlu zeshayamthetho ezindala, a structure that Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi helped build and also helped to maintain. This used to be the capital of the KwaZulu government. This used to be the capital of the provincial government of KwaZulu-Natal after 1994, when the IFP was governing up until 2004. It was moved by the currently governing African National Congress to Pietermaritzburg. That's where the provincial capital relocated to. And this is a building that Ulundi nikhuluma ngalo lwakhiwa yimi, meaning Ulundi that we are talking about was built by myself. So therefore it's not surprising that you will see these thousands of people lining up the streets to pay their respect or their respects to the departed Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Next to his hearse, I see there is one of his protectors there, Ustole, as well as Protector Umieni. They worked with him for a very long time, for many years, protecting him to ensure that he was safe. Even when it was tough politically, they were with him. It's not surprising that they are on foot today, all the way from the mortuary, guarding his body for the last time. They were with him when he was still alive. They were with him in the hospital. They guarded his body when it was taken to the mortuary. Even when it was at the mortuary, they were there with him. I'm talking about Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi's protectors, that is Inspector Chole as well as Inspector Mieni. They are behind the hearse that is there. Inside the hearse there is Prince Zuzifa. Inspector Chole is the one wearing black glasses on my left, and behind him on the other side on my right, you won't be able to see them properly, but they are behind that hearse that is carrying the remains of a man they looked after for more than 35 years, a man they got to call a father, a man they had to spend almost every day with him. But today they are sending him home for the last time. They used to drive him here when he was going to Durban, Ulundi, Cape Town, also drive him back to Wapindangene, but that privilege is gone. That assignment is over. Tomorrow or Sunday will be a new day for them. It will be a new dawn. How are they going to cope moving forward? Then they will have to mourn and grieve. But they told me earlier that their biggest task right now is to ensure that they are with Shenge for the last time, all the way from Itebole to Mortuary in Ulundi to Wapindangene.
The journey continues, Pamandla Koko. The journey continues to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi's home, and we can see Amabutho, some IFP members and community members as well out in Ulundi accompanying his remains, of course comforting his family at the same time to his final journey home. This, of course, as you mentioned, colleague, that the streets of Ulundi have come to a standstill. This as, of course, the final goodbyes and farewells to Prince Mangosuthu to continue well into that journey on his way home. You know, it's interesting to hear you narrate, Pamandla, of the different faces and different, sort of allies that have worked along Mangosuthu Buthelezi, being, of course, playing crucial roles even to this day, and still either being part of Amabutho, those who have been part of his protection and part of his protectors, those who've worked with him in parliament and government, those who've worked with him even in his capacity as the traditional prime minister of the AmaZulu nation, still very much so today present, all in paying their respects to him, comforting the family, equal so with Prince Zuzifa Buthelezi, of course the son of Prince Mangosuthu, being with his father by his side inside that hearse, leading him to his home. And this is where, of course, we'll see the service tomorrow, and that's when he'll be laid to rest. But also it's important to note that even from the time that he was, still at the funeral home, Prince Zuzifa still, speaking to his father. That's expected, telling him the steps that are to follow, what's happening next, what's happening with the presence of those bidding him farewell today. And I suppose this being quite a private moment, a sacred one indeed, as the Buthelezi clan leading their leader to, of course, his final resting place, and that will take place as from tomorrow. But also equally, important to note is that Prince Zuzifa Buthelezi expected to then take over from his father to, of course, lead the Buthelezi clan. But the motorcade is still ongoing, with law enforcement assuring its smooth journey to Prince Mangosuthu's home, and that's where we, of course, know that there's still much higher than activity, and those who await to receive him at home, and as they plan the next steps in terms of processes and services that are to follow in making sure that he is laid to rest with the respect and dignity that is deserved. But of course, you could see there are many streets in Ulundi having the presence of either, some community members just parked on the sides wanting to witness what's happening, but also members of law enforcement affirming that they have been engaging with family members, that they will equally play their part and their role. It seems to have taken days in terms of engagements with family, but also the planning around how exactly they will execute their mandate, which is around security. Security, because there are no stampedes that are, wanted during this time. All the mourners coming to pay their last respects, sort of, protected so that they can do so with the right amount of well-being and security afforded by members of the SAPS. But also you can understand a number of also VIP mourners expected to come. The likes of former President Thabo Mbeki, former President Kgalema Motlanthe, President Cyril Ramaphosa, dubbed to read the eulogy at the funeral. Some former statesmen from other parts of the African continent expected to come, but also much of, the greater community that has served alongside with Prince Mangosuthu, either with his, within his political life and his political time, but also with his many duties when it comes to his role within, the AmaZulu nation, but also in civil society, just in the communities as well. So you can see there's some visuals, even though freezing a bit because of some of the shaky visuals we're receiving at this stage. But again, law enforcement on the ground ensuring that they man the smooth journey that the motorcade is expected to make home. Rightfully so, with many mourners, as we've seen previously, just ululating and singing praises, some even, recording this moment as they bid farewell to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. So we do expect, of course, that procession to make its way home, to be received at home, and more services to, of course, be conducted. A prayer service, I also understand, is expected to take place, as well as continued messages of support. This is almost not going to be coming to an end anytime soon. Continued messages of support from either members of the opposition parties, either members of, the greater community in South Africa, whether it's in, corporate, in civil society, in academia. We know that they will continue on, as of course he's expected to be laid to rest tomorrow. Perhaps if you have just joined us, we are giving you live visuals of that motorcade that's also leading with the coffins and the remains of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi from the Icebolethu home funeral parlor. This is where his remains were, and they've just been, fetched by his son. Some of the male, patriarchs of the Buthelezi family accompanying Prince Zuzifa Buthelezi. We've seen also IFP leader Velenkosi Mihlabisa in attendance, present at the time. All of them, of course, coming to ensure that this journey home is one that is befitting of a man of this stature, a man who has many hats that he's played in society, but also just those who've worked very closely with him, wanting to continue to ensure his journey home, his final resting place, sees their presence once again in close proximity with, of course, the remains of Mangosuthu Buthelezi, but also that of his family. So we're still seeing those visuals, even of law enforcement leading the charge in leading the motorcade. Princess Phumzile as well, whom we've known to have worked quite closely with her father, shaping her political life as well. Shaping rather a somber face and a somber, a structure, quite understandably, because this is her father. This is a man that has influenced, I suppose, a greater part of who she is today, and to, see him being laid to rest, to say goodbye to him, a very difficult mammoth task that the family has to take. One that even Prince Zuzifa has, mentioned and told my colleague Bradan Moyane that it was a difficult time for the family. There isn't perfect preparation when it's time to say goodbye. Also, when it's time, to prepare a burial for a man of this stature, where every single facet of his life, every single role that he's played, every single hat that he's worn, you could understand those who've worked very closely with him, wanting to equally be beside him, to play a role, to be afforded an opportunity to send their messages of farewell, of support to the family, but also to share with the country, share with the nation and the rest of the world their experiences with Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. So one can imagine it hasn't been a very easy program to plan. I suppose even also feeding into the fact that his burial was actually meant to take place today. It was meant to be on Friday, but after much consideration, the family says they had to factor in some outside factors, and also understand that it may not be possible to actually bestow him this funeral and burial today on Friday. Actually, that decision coming on that they would rather then lay him to his final resting place on Saturday. I suppose the consideration they're being given to, once again, those who also want to be a part of saying goodbye to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, needed to be afforded time, needing to be afforded, some opportunity and, space to acknowledge him within the program. So there goes the final decision by the family then that he would be buried on Saturday, and the funeral service rather would take place on Saturday. We understand to also accommodate the number of mourners expected, the venue of the service would then be at the Buthelezi Ulundi Stadium, and that's, we understand, a capacity of 15,000 that's able to accommodate mourners inside the stadium. But we've seen, even with days building up and leading to today, this moment, even with tomorrow at his final resting place, mourners just continue to come in. Tributes continue to come in. People from, the different directions continue to come to the home state to support the family and to also just give their final messages of support. So there's a possibility that that number, 15,000, may actually exceed. And Nat Jones, as well as law enforcement, saying they're very much prepared and well within their mandate to accommodate those numbers through marquees and extra chairs that would be provided for. So that long journey through the different streets of Ulundi, as you can see, a journey back home for Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, I suppose a time, his final time where he will be home, and that is the motorcade that you are seeing on your screens right now. And I suppose another, credit given here to family for being considerate in terms of, the many community members of Ulundi that would not be able to perhaps even attend the funeral service. This is their opportunity to stand on the sidelines, to record with their cell phones, to witness with their own naked eyes that motorcade carrying the remains and the body of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. I suppose they would then be able to share when they go back home that they stood there for hours waiting for him to pass by, and the family being considerate of those who may not be able to make it to the funeral, and thus taking that long journey. And earlier on we saw even Amabuto making that journey with the traditional Prime Minister, the late Mangosuthu Buthelezi. But now we seem to have missed the Amabuto. Perhaps they're trailing behind. We know they will continue to make their walk nonetheless, of course, to the home of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, as that motorcade tries just to drive as fast but as possible within the means of speed as they can to make their way back home. I suppose also in consideration of the many processes that are yet to follow, looking at the time almost being sunset at this stage, and time passing by, the family needing to still make more arrangements, needing to gather around the table and still take further discussions and make them amongst themselves as to what the next steps would be, all in preparation for tomorrow. But that's what we're giving you right now at this moment on your screens, live and direct right here on eNCA, the final journey home for Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, and we'll continue to do so until, of course, we reach home and see that coffin making its way inside home. But in the meantime, also, let's just perhaps reflect even on, the different voices that we've also heard, Pamantla Koke, as we continue to see these visuals of the journey back home, that final journey for Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Quite a sad time, for the family itself, saying it's so difficult. Who prepares to say goodbye to their father, to a patriarch that has been an anchor for the family, for the AmaZulu nation for quite some time? And I suppose it's never an easy time for them to say goodbye. Pamantla Koke?
It will never be an easy time, especially for Prince Zuzifa, who's been with his father for a very long time. When he was unwell, he was with him. Bear with me, it's too windy here. We are moving with a motorcade, so if and when you feel like I'm not audible, it will simply because fast pace here. Amabuto have been left behind. We will reconnect with another batch and group of Amabuto as we are about to turn to Wapindangene, and we will meet another batch and group of Amabuto that will take the Prince of Wapindangene home. This is the final journey for a man who used to travel here every day, whether going to listen to the locals here who are lining up the streets. These are Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi's neighbors that are about a kilometer away from his homestead, Wapindangene. They lived with him, and they encountered him almost on a daily basis, while I'm hearing myself in the background, but I assume you can still hear me. Nonetheless, let me tell you that we are about a kilometer away to Wapindangene. Those who are familiar with Nkonjeni, Mashabatini, they will know that famous right turn-off which goes to Wapindangene. We are approaching that turn-off, literally 10 minutes away to the homestead. I don't know how long the journey will take, because we expect another group of Amabuto to be with us on the way as we still going to Wapindangene, and we are about to turn now. But for the family, this will be a very sad moment. This will be a very somber moment, sad for them, because their father is coming home for the last time. his motorcade used to come here to bring him home, pick him up, take him to his place of work, whether as the founder and president of the IFP, as the traditional prime minister to the Zulu monarch and nation. All of that used to be done traveling through this route. That is the famous turn that goes to eNCA. This is the famous turn that Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi is taking for one more time. Tomorrow morning he will be leaving KwaPhindangene, going to Ulundi Memorial Stadium, which has been renamed after him, known as Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi Regional Stadium. That's where his funeral service will be. But today he's 5 minutes away to his homestead, to his home. He will sleep there for one last time. After tomorrow, he will never come back home. But his family will live and cherish the memories that they would have spent with him. That's the only way they can remember him. For 95 years, this is a man who has lived here. He was born, grew up here, went to many places to study and for his political activism, and came back to serve the people of eMahlabathini, the people of Ulu. IFP in parliament times with members of the family and his neighbors in and around KwaPhindangene. Far the motorcade that is about to reach KwaPhindangene, there will be a group of Amabutho who will be waiting for Shenge at the gates of KwaPhindangene, and when he enters home, uzophindangene KwaPhindangene okugcina, as his homestead has been known. He was the prince of KwaPhindangene. Uyongena KwaPhindangene namhlanje uzolala ekhaya. As the sun sets, the family will have an opportunity to have private moments with his remains. Spiritually, they believe that he is with them. He was a deeply cultured and religious man. Hence, there will not be too many rituals that you will see being performed when he's being laid to rest. I can confirm to you that he will not be laid to rest midnight. It will be done in broad daylight, because he said when he was still alive that I'm a simple man, I'm a religious man, I'm a cultured man. Even though I am eNCA Buthelezi, but I would have lived a simple life. I would like a simple funeral, but it's not going to be. It's going to be one of the biggest funerals, as we see thousands of other members of eNCA, eMahlabathini and the Buthelezi clan are waiting in batches along the way en route to KwaPhindangene. Amabutho are here, Ulundi is on standstill. We are about to be joined by another group and batch of Amabutho and mourners who are welcoming the Prince of KwaPhindangene. We are 3 minutes away to his homestead, but this drive will be one of the longest drives for the family, as they will be slowed down by well-wishers, by mourners. Let me give you those who are lining up the street. Yes. Fast. Well, there is another group of Amabutho that is just right here, that is ensuring that they welcome the Prince of KwaPhindangene. They are here to ensure that they are here to support members of the Buthelezi family, members of the Buthelezi clan, as we see this group here coming here to pay their last respects. It's going to be a very difficult time for the family of Buthelezi. It's going to be a very difficult time for the members of the Buthelezi clan, as we wait for the Prince of KwaPhindangene to make his way to join his family members as we will just wait a little bit here as we wait for Amabutho to take their positions, as we wait for Amabutho to take their place in accompanying the Prince of Kwaphindangene as he's making his way home. I said earlier on we are 3 minutes away to Kwaphindangene. It's going to be more than that. It's going to be another walk for Amabutho, who are escorting the remains of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. They include Prince Vanana Zulu of KwaMinyamanzi. Mntwana Vanana Zulu, we will show you the visuals of the Prince of KwaMinyamanzi shortly, as we are about to be joined by that batch of Amabutho. They are members of the Zulu royal family. This ibutho that is accompanying the Prince of Kwaphindangene right now is being led by princes of the royal family, Abantwana baseNdlunkulu. They will take from here all the way to Kwaphindangene. These are the senior princes who served and worked with Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi when he was executing his royal duties and responsibilities as the traditional prime minister to the Zulu monarch and to the nation. The sun is setting. Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi Ogamatole is making his final journey home, and he will be laid to rest tomorrow. He's been accorded a special official funeral category 1 by President Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa, and President Ramaphosa will deliver the eulogy. I saw Archbishop Thabo Makgoba yesterday in Ulundi already. He will be leading a religious aspect of that funeral service of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. He was a devoted Christian. He was a devoted member of the church, and he was very clear in his wishes that he would like to see his funeral service being led by members of the clergy and members of his church to ensure that he is sent off in a dignified way. He lived a very simple and modest life as a deep cultured and hardcore traditionalist. Many people would have been surprised even for the fact that he only had one wife. He never believed in polygamy, even though he was from a polygamous environment. He said to me, well, Mr. Koke, I'm okay with one wife. I've seen my father having more than one wife, and I will not venture into such a setup because I am a Christian. Those were his views to me. Those were his thoughts on polygamy. He said he was okay with one wife. You see there in front Prince Vanana leading Amabutho, and Prince Vanana is just behind the hearse, or in front of the hearse rather, with other members of the Zulu royal family. Perhaps I think what we can do from here is just to walk. We will take it from here and walk all the way to Kwaphindangene, and I think that will help us if we can just be on foot now, while we've been joined by Joe Komane, who is helping us with other visuals. So we will ask Skara to offload us for now. Please bear with us. There will be shaky visuals. Okay, we will keep going for now. We'll keep going for now up until we are ready to basically jump out of this vehicle. And once we are off, once we have jumped off this vehicle, then we'll be able to give you proper visuals and proper rolling coverage. We are jumping off now. Please bear with us. There will be shaky visuals. Induna Yamabutho Sipomshongo here making way for us. Okay, we are on foot now. We'll give you natural sound. We will give you these final moments of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi making his final journey home, making his last trip to Kwaphindangene. But I want us to be on the other side of this team of Amabutho. We will go behind so that we will give you the visuals of this house. Please bear with us. We will just be in front of this one. This is the team that is led by Prince Vanana. They are singing a song, Awu Awu, which is a somber song. I see here Toya Buthelezi, who's the granddaughter to Prince Mangosuthu. Hello, how are you? A very sad day here. You are here to pay your respects to your grandfather. Very emotional, and you see these are the grandchildren that are here to pay their respects to their departed grandfather, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. This is a group that is led by Prince Vanana of Kwaminyamanzi. Next to him, there is Prince Rhino also, and other members of Amazulu royal family. This is a group that lived and worked with Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi for a very long time during royal ceremonies. Just want to give you these visuals here, as Bongamkize is showing you these visuals here of Prince Zuzifa Buthelezi inside the hearse there, leading his father home in his final journey as he is making his last journey to Kwapindangene for one more time. Amabutho singing and making their way to Kwapindangene, and after here they will be entering gate number 1 of Kwapindangene. The grandchildren of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi and great-grandchildren leading this motorcade, which is carrying the remains of their departed grandfather and great-grandfather. We are on our way, making our way to Kwapindangene. Please bear with us. We thought it was going to take a very short time to get to Kwapindangene, but it was not going to be, as this walk is going to be very long for Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, who's been taken home to Kwapindangene. He will be laid to rest tomorrow in an official special funeral category number 1. Ensuring that we are bringing you these live visuals in a manner that will show you the magnitude of what is happening here outside Kwapindangene as we make our way with this motorcade to Kwapindangene. Tammy Kamane is also here to ensure that eNCA team is bringing you the best of this coverage. One of the biggest funerals. It was to be expected that thousands of Amabutho will come here to pay their homage and respects to the departed Amazulu nation traditional prime minister and prime minister to the Zulu monarch King Nisuzulu Kazwelithini, whom he helped, by the way, to ascend to the throne.
Was Pamandla, as I give you a chance, colleagues, to just catch your breath there, as we can see those very much electrifying visuals. I think as the motorcade gets closer and closer to the homestead, Pamandla, that's where you can see almost even, the Amabutho losing a bit of control there of the community and people, in a way, trying to all come and converge together to also sing, to also just sing praises, even though it's a sad time. But they want to be celebrating Mangosuthu Buthelezi, and we can almost see now everyone converged right in front of that hearse, that motorcade, carrying Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi's coffin and his remains home. Indeed, rightfully so, we saw some of the grandchildren, even Buthelezi, quite speechless, just wanting to be present and take in this moment as she says and bids farewell to her grandfather. But indeed, that motorcade a little bit closer, edging closer to the homestead of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. That's where he'll spend his last evening inside his home, a private moment, you can imagine, for the family to converge around him, as of course that service is expected as from tomorrow. So we're giving you those live visuals with our team on the ground, as of course that motorcade still follows through to the journey, the final journey home for Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. And I'm just looking at the visuals right now, Spamandla, and I'm also seeing that it's sunset where you are right now, and it's just I suppose a symbolism of how the sun is setting on the life of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Such a symbolic moment where his coffin is actually edging closer to his home. This is where I suppose even those hundreds of people outside, the crowd, would have their final moment to be in such close proximity to his his mortal remains at this final time. Because once that coffin enters the gates and it enters inside the house, I'm sure you would agree with me that that's when the family would exclusively have that private moment, and the rest of the Amabutho, the rest of the community members, the rest of the IFP members that are all here chanting their praises to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, that's when they would no longer be afforded that opportunity to say goodbye to him. And we're seeing, of course, those visuals in the homesteads. That's the entrance of the home, and you can see at this point they are expecting to see those remains come inside the house at this point in time. That's where Bradan and JJ Tabane had been for the good part of the afternoon, and this is where, of course, the coffin will enter inside one more time into the home. And I suppose Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi enter his house, his home, and a place is called home for many a years, and he will sleep there for the last time before being laid to his final resting place. Not an easy time for the family, not an easy time for those who have worked closely with him over the years, not an easy time for those who have followed him and have remembered him for being a founding father for many institutions. I mean, if you think of the likes of the Mangosuthu University of Technology as an example, we went there this past couple of days, and speaking to the spokesperson of the university, saying that Mangosuthu Buthelezi wanted the best for the people, and he wanted an institution that would not exclude particularly black people, particularly young people with talent, with also an opportunity to quality education. And I remember the spokesperson boasting the many alumni, either in government, in public service, in private sector, many of them, playing quite significant, astounding roles in society as well as into their profession. So I suppose that dream coming to life right in front of Mangosuthu Buthelezi's eyes. But you can see once again, viewers, the Amabutho charging right in front of the motorcade and the hearse. Quite an emotional time for them as well, because this is the traditional Prime Minister they have known for years, one that has joined them in song, in singing praises, particularly when it comes to, when the Zulu nation observes its own traditions and customs. So this time around, not having their leader with them during this particular time, and this is their way of bidding him goodbye. But also I see many IFP members in IFP regalia, as well, right in front, saying goodbye to Mangosuthu Buthelezi, and of course being right in front of the car and the motorcade there, and bidding farewell to Mangosuthu Buthelezi. So we, of course, will be giving you those visuals right now. But once again, Pamandla, I mean, you are in a better position to just explain to us, I suppose, the texture of the emotions right on the ground from where you stand. Pamandla? Okay, we'll try and continue to establish your connection right at this time. But I suppose as we do that, let's continue to see these visuals. You could see there women as well trying to keep up with Amabuto behind them. I mean, this is quite a group of, traditional Amabuto, praise singers, and very much well prepared for this moment. The speed with which they move, the emotions with which they express when singing and chanting. And you can see quite a disciplined group of them, and much alluding to the fact that Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi has been leading them, has been counseling them, and this is their way of saying goodbye. The family as well thanking everyone from every corner of society for comforting them and being a warm blanket of just comfort during this time as they say goodbye to their father, to their grandfather, to their great-grandfather, but also a patriarch that has anchored the Buthelezi family, the Buthelezi clan for many decades, and this is where they say goodbye. It seems like the motorcade has stopped at this moment. We are not as sure from where we stand in Johannesburg in studio what the reasons could be. We'll try and get a hold of my colleagues who are on the ground, Pamandla, being very close to the visuals that we see right now. As soon as we establish connection with him, he'll be sure to perhaps inform us as to what exactly we're seeing and what may have informed this stop and go, which he did explain in the beginning that, I mean, understandably, given the fact that people, so many of them, were also on the road wanting to, say goodbye. Perhaps that also informed why the motorcade, while making its way through the streets of Ulundi, had made quite a number of stops and goes so that they do not, of course, bump into anyone in front of them. But let me go back to Pamandla Koke, who I understand is with me right now. And Pamandla, from what you see and where you stand right now, I suppose we're edging closer and closer to Mangosuthu Buthelezi's home.
Indeed, that's correct. We are edging closer to Prince Mangosuthu's home. The stoppages that you see, there's nothing wrong with the motorcade. It's just to allow free movement of people in batches, because this team is being led by senior members of Amazulu royal family. So what they will do from time to time, they will slow down the motorcade to ensure that everyone here is accorded space and time to move. There is another group on my other side, behind us there is another group, so they open up space and intervals for free movement of the Amabuto that are here, and they continue to sing. Listen to Prince Barana. All of it is well choreographed. All of it is organized in a manner that the movement is done in a well choreographed manner. And we are getting closer to Wapindangene. We are about to turn right now. The sun has set. Bongamkize will show you the mountains of Emahlabathini, the mountains of Enkonjini, the mountains of Zululand in Ulundi, where Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi lived 95 years of his life. Today, he's making his final journey to Wapindangene, a journey that will hurt many people who would have loved to see him living longer. But he himself has said in the past that he's really eating and chowing what he called a bonus. He said with all that has happened to him in the past, he would have passed on a long time ago. So he was grateful for the years that he lived, bearing in mind that towards the end of his life, there were instances whereby he was plagued by ill health. So therefore, he says he was grateful, or he said at the time, he was grateful for living this long. We are turning now to show you the other side, because in front of us there is another badge that is happening there. The man that you see is Ishwa. Ishwa is Prince Mabheka. He is the adopted son of the late King Zwelithini. You will be surprised what an Indian fellow, what is he doing here? Well, he's been part of the Zulu royal family, because the late King Zwelithini adopted him and gave him a name of Prince Mabheka. They were very close, and he worked for a very long time with Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi for his Sivananda Foundation, peace initiatives between Indians and AmaZulu, as well as a number of activities and developmental initiatives that they were embarking on together with Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. We will walk on the other side of this little mountain with Bongamkhize so that we can give you an elevated shot. Please bear with us. We are trying to give you the best of this motorcade and what is happening outside Wapindangene. This is the last turn that Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi will take. He used to come here, going home, leaving home, but today he's coming home for the last time. When his remains leave tomorrow, he will never come back home. His family will have to go on without him. eNCA Freedom Party will have to soldier on without him ahead of the crucial 2024 election. They are going to use his image. They are going to use his stature to campaign for the 2024 elections. AmaZulu nation will have to continue without the traditional prime minister, and the Buthelezi family will have to continue without their father. And what is happening outside? Giving you the best of these visuals, elevated. The last 10 home being taken by Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, accompanied by members of the family, members of the Buthelezi clan, members of eNCA Freedom Party, a party founded and led for many years, AmaZulu nation, as they sing a somber song.
Well, Spamandla Koke, I have to, of course, as we see those visuals from where you stand, colleague, also head over to where Manqoba Mchunu is. Manqoba Mchunu, rather, being at the homestead of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. This is where we expect, of course, that motorcade. And we can see a glimpse from Manqoba's picture that indeed Mangosuthu Buthelezi is home. Manqoba?
Well, certainly, Tumelo, the body of the late IFP founder, Mangosuthu Buthelezi, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, arriving here at the Kwapindangene homestead, and of course, led by Amabutho, who have been waiting eagerly for this moment. They have been arriving here since the early hours of the morning to come and bid farewell to Mntwana Kwapindangene. And we've seen, of course, many of them from the different clans and from the different valleys here in KwaZulu-Natal coming, of course, to pay their respects to Mntwana Kwapindangene. And as you can see here, quite an occasion here outside the main gate of Kwapindangene, ushering Mntwana Kwapindangene into the homestead where the clergy is awaiting to receive his mortal remains, the Archbishop of the Anglican Church in Cape Town, among those that are here. And you recall that this was a request that was made by Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi that he'd want the Archbishop to officiate
Well, of course, Mangwa, we seem to have lost you at this time, but perhaps if I can just come in there, colleague, rightfully so, speaking that we are seeing that motorcade making its way inside the gates now, of course, expected to be open any moment to, of course, welcome him. That clergy that you made mention of, Mangwa, quite important to note, as you had mentioned, colleague, that Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi had reiterated that before he wants, of course, this to be a simple funeral. He wants this funeral to also observe his life as a religious man, as a Christian man, and I suppose that's why the likes of Ndati Thabo Makgoba are also present here to, of course, play that role in terms of the religious aspect of this funeral procession, but also well into the wishes of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. So we're seeing here, as you know, Spamantla Goge had previously described, almost like a mix and a merger of political, of cultural, but also of religious, all these different facets of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi's life, rightfully so being respected according to his wishes, but also being acknowledged and being observed. And I suppose that's why we are also, according to what you see and observe there, colleague, saying the clergy is also there. What I see in front of me there in the visuals is what looks like the gate opening officially for Mangosuthu Buthelezi to come inside his home. This is where he will, of course, rest in the home just for one night, one last night before then making his way to his final resting place. And once again, seeing the motorcade being directed and led so that it can make its way inside. And as far as the role of the Amabuto, as well as the IFP members and community members, well, we get to see if they will actually follow the coffin inside the home, or perhaps it could be a private moment then for the family to be able to further discuss the next steps that are to follow leading up to the funeral service tomorrow. It is a Category 1 official funeral, as of course stated by President Cyril Ramaphosa. He's expected to say the eulogy tomorrow, but also in attendance the likes of former President and statesman Thabo Mbeki, Kgalema Motlanthe expected tomorrow. But we've seen the IFP president today leading on that procession, that motorcade, just to Prince Mangosuthu's home.